Saw is one of the most iconic horror franchises of our generation, so much so that it's crossed over to pop culture, with the Jigsaw mask being a staple in every Halloween store, and even comedic pieces being done of the famous characters of the story. And it's no surprise that the first movie was such a classic, since it's directed by one of the best horror directors of our time, James Wan. But then James Wan went on to work on different projects, and even though there were some good Saw sequels in the mix, for the most part, as the franchise went on, it progressively became formulaic garbage. And the Saw fanbase has garnered a reputation of being stupid idiots that have zero appreciation for real cinema and just want to watch torture porn. And judging how other franchises are handling their 10th installment in the series, I didn't have high hopes for this movie. But I'm glad to say, after watching Saw X, this movie definitely breaks that trend. So that's why I'm here today, to analyze what this movie did to not only be a good addition to the franchise, but to stand out as one of the best movies of the franchise. If you want to run a successful business, then you need to have a specific market for that said business. What I mean by that is that there needs to be an appetite for the product or service that you're providing. Because even if you have the best product in the world, if nobody wants it, then it doesn't matter. Take YouTube, for example. Let's say you want to make a viral video. Even if you have the best editing skills and the funniest personality in the world, if your video is on a topic that nobody's interested in, then nobody's gonna see that video. Your video needs to be on something that people are actively searching for, a topic of interest, such as cryptocurrency, e-gaming, recent movies that have come out. There needs to be an appetite for that sort of content. And the point that I'm trying to illustrate with this is that the movie has the perfect story to tell because we, the audience, have an appetite for that story. It's crazy to think that it's taken them 10 movies to figure out that we want a movie centered around John Kramer. Because even though John Kramer is in most of the Saw movies, he's never the protagonist or the main character in them. He's usually some side character that's in the background. And we usually end up following a detective or some apprentice or the people that are in the traps themselves. And who would have thought that the most interesting person to tell a story about out of this group would be the psychotic mastermind criminal who is the creator and inventor of all these intricate traps? But no, let's go with one of these guys. So yeah, it's crazy to think that it took them this long to figure it out, but now that we're at the 10th movie, we finally get a whole film dedicated to following John Kramer. And this is one of the major factors as to why this movie is so strong, is because the Saw fan base has an interest in this story. He's the head villain of the entire franchise, the story's never been told before, so it would only make sense that we would want to get to know him a little bit more. And that's exactly what we get with this movie. We just get to understand more of who he is as a person and what he's dealing with and what he's going through and so on and so forth. And I have to admit to you guys, when I went to see this movie, I was drunk as because your boy's an alcoholic. But at the same time, I didn't expect this movie to be good. I thought it was gonna be some garbage movie, so I was like, might as well get drunk and at least have fun with it. And 30 minutes into the movie, my drunk ass is like, oh my god, this feels slow. Not in a bad way either. I'm just saying that's not what I expected. I expected to see traps and gore and just action right away. But the first 30-40 minutes is legit character buildup, and you're following John Kramer around and truly getting to know his story, which I thought was fantastic because it gets you more vested in the character. The other thing that this movie does so well is that it picks the right victims. Jigsaw doesn't like to consider himself a murderer. He truly believes that he picks people that are bad or quote unquote done bad stuff and gives them an opportunity to redeem themselves in a horrific way. And the choice is completely up to them. And even if you think that sounds cool on paper, it doesn't work when the punishment exceeds the crime. Meaning the trap is not proportional to the misdeed that the person committed. Like if someone cheated, like that's okay, cheating's not good, but god damn it, you're gonna do this to me because so then you just end up feeling like this guy's just a crazy lunatic. But not in this movie, because in this movie you actually hate the people that are in the traps and can't wait to see them get tortured. And that's because they chose the right victims. The traps are proportional to the crimes that they have committed. These people are absolutely pieces of shit. They prey on the terminally ill and give them false hope that they can cure their disease or sickness. I mean, I can't wait to see these people in Jigsaw's traps. And what a great way to set up the story, because the last person on planet Earth that you want to scam is John Kramer. The last thing I want to talk about is how this movie got me to to root for a maniacal, diabolic human being that is truly messed up in the head, but for some reason, this movie makes me like him. I mean, it's almost like he's an anti-hero in this film, and that's obviously partly due to the fact that the people that he's killing are worthless pieces of shit, and they deserve karma to be done to them. However, there are two other things that I want to point out. One is that John Kramer has a code. No matter how bad of a person he is, no matter how sick he is, no matter how diabolical his traps are, he still has a code. And we see it play out multiple times in this movie. If you can survive the trap and you can escape, you will go with your life. He does keep his promise with that. As we see with the guy who cuts off the explosive devices from his forearms, and the girl who gets radiated but ends up dying from the blonde girl. And he also doesn't kill innocent people. He always picks on people who have done something wrong in his point of view. And even if we disagree with him at times and how severe the crimes that the people that he's judging are, it's still a code nonetheless, and he sticks to it, which is what matters. Think of it as Batman. Batman doesn't kill people because that's his code. He'll beat the guys up, but never, ever, ever does he kill them. That's the code that he upholds. But the other thing that makes me root for John Kramer in this movie is when he saves the little boy at the end. Because as I mentioned earlier, he doesn't let innocent people die, and the boy is an innocent child. The woman that thinks she escaped the trap wants John Kramer to watch an innocent person die in front of him. And in this waterboarding trap with blood, he pulls the handle to make sure that he is the one that's taken all the blood so that he dies and the child survives. I mean, is he a hero or what? And then the kid feels bad, and so he pulls the thing, and then it goes back and forth, and you're just like, oh my god. Am I in love with John Kramer right now? And the fact that the kid doesn't speak English, and earlier in the story they met up before and he talked about no hala, which means don't pull, and he uses that in this scene, no hala, so that the kid can survive. I mean, this was awesome. By the end of this movie, I was fully on John Kramer's team. I was rooting for him. I wanted him to kill all those sick bastards, and I didn't even think of him as a bad person in this movie. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? And I just want to give a quick shout out to Tobin Bell. I mean, he is 81 years old, guys. That's freaking awesome. 81 years old, still starring in popular movies, coming out in cinemas, not just starring in them, but the protagonist in them, and killing it. Like, I actually love this movie more than all of them. Okay, I'm getting too excited, but the point is, I love seeing older people get recognition and do great things, because that's just awesome. Old people rock too. I used to think old age is just reserved to sitting around and being depressed and drinking till you die, but that's not the case. You can be a badass actor in a big movie. The last thing I want to talk about are the traps, because is this even a Saw video if I don't mention them at all? But before I do, just know I am going to be making a separate video where I'm going to be ranking all the Saw traps in this movie, so stay tuned for that because I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in that video. But in this video, I'll just mention that the Saw traps are good compared to the previous movies. They are just as good in terms of awe factor and goriness, but in terms of creativity and things that we haven't seen before in the franchise, that's where I think it came a little bit short, because all the traps do seem to be a little bit derivative from any of the other ones, but I will say there were one or two that were unique, and one of them is on the poster. I thought the eye one was pretty cool.
When Kevin and I started talking about the janitor trap, it needs to be a big moment and suck the audience right in. This is the audience's first trap in the movie. It is what is going to sort of keep their asses glued to the seats.
And there is definitely one that made me squirm and cringe in the seat. I literally could not watch it. That is in the film as well. Let me know what you guys think about Saw X. Do you think this is a great return to form for the franchise, or do you think I'm overhyping it? Let me know down in the comments. Give me your Saw rankings down below as well. And as always, give this video a thumbs up, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Who's that?
Hello, Orange. I want to play a game.
A game? Okay, let's play Go Fish.
No.
How about Chutes and Ladders?
No, you don't get to pick the game.
Why not?
That's not how this works.
Why?